where it should be in the classroom. One of the things that I alluded to earlier was the fact that we need to start hiring and retaining the best. And when I say retaining, what's happening out there is that we have younger teachers who are getting jobs with us, and they're not staying with us for more than 5 years, because what they're finding is that their peers that they went to college with are out there who got the same degree as them, went into the private sector, and they're making twice as much money as them. So I know that money is a big issue with everybody, but it's certainly a big issue with us. And I'll tell you what, teachers deserve to be paid more than what they're being paid now if you're going to treat them as true professionals.
If light rail comes to pass, how are you going to deal with the corresponding reduction in available funding?
Well, light rail is not a school board issue, and that is more of a that's a city council issue. However, the light rail, they're going to have to cut from somewhere, and it's always kids. And so, my suggestion to you will be get new city council members.
All I have to say is, when the budget comes before city council and the school budget comes before it, I want to see the school board budget passed. I mean, and, when it comes down to light rail or whatever, or all the other things that are going on in the city, my priority as a school board member will be to ensure that the school budget is passed. That's all I care about. Well, that's my priority. That's not all I care about. I live here too, so.
Well, I'm doing something about it right now. I'm supporting candidates that do not support light rail. So hopefully we will have a city council that won't spend and waste our money on that, and that they'll prioritize spending and make sure that our schools and our police officers and our safety workers are priority in our spending in our city.
If light rail passes and the schools take a hit, we're going to have to deal with that hit. The school board doesn't have the ability to raise revenue. As I said earlier, I don't think the school board should have the power to tax, but the school board has the bully pulpit and join the rest of the community in holding the city council accountable if it's misusing taxpayer funds on things that are taking away from our kids' education. You all have an opportunity to do something about that on November 8th, in addition to electing the four of us to be good stewards of your money on the school board. There's a referendum on light rail, and you can vote in that referendum to protect our tax funds and protect funding for our schools and our kids.
Just as with anything else, I would hope the city council would prioritize. That's what we have to hope for. But it's your job as citizens to go to city council and make sure that they put their priorities in the right perspective. So, if light rail passes, it's something that city council is going to have to deal with. They're going to have to answer to our citizens. And I would hope that they would put schools above everything else. But, that's because that's my first priority as well, and always will be. So.
Like Eric said, light rail is not a school board issue. Paying for light rail is not a school board issue. Currently in Virginia Beach, we have a revenue sharing agreement between the city council and school board that sets up a formula for how much money the schools get. And as long as that formula is in place, no matter what the city does, the schools will maintain their funding. Right now we get 48% of the total budget. It's money from the state, 6 cents off of the real estate tax. And then we get roughly 30% of the remaining undedicated taxes. But with the school funding formula in place, the schools get their money first, and then the city council will figure out what they do with the rest of the money.
Okay, here's the next question. During Tim Jennings' time as superintendent, he moved his physical location at board meetings to the center of the board. If our superintendent works for the school board, why is he sitting in the middle as if he is the chairman?
Why is he sitting in the center? Well, I know that the superintendent does have to make several presentations to the public and to those who are viewing. I don't know if it has something to do with power or authority, but I do know that he does several presentations to the school board and to those who are attending and viewing the meetings. I think the most important thing that we have to think of here is that the school board hires a superintendent that they have confidence in. And they vet the school superintendent, they review his credentials, and they put their faith and their trust in him. And so, you know, that's my concern. If I'm going to put my trust in the person that I've hired, then I'm going to support them in what they're doing. And when I disagree with them, I'm going to let them know that as well.
I do not think that the superintendent should be sitting next to the school board chair. I think that he should be sitting down as the city manager does. The city manager does not sit next to the mayor. And that is, again, another priority for mine, is to move it. We need to set our school board above our superintendent. The school board reports to us. There are elected officials. I'm going to report to you when I'm on the school board, not to the superintendent.
Yeah, the superintendent doesn't need to be sitting front and center with the elected officials sitting off to his side around him. He works for us through our elected representatives, and his sitting where he does is a demonstration of a school board that is afraid to lead, a school board that insists on delegating its power and authority to an unelected administrator whose job is not to set policy, but to implement policy by a school board that has the courage to lead. As Vicki said, the city manager at city council meetings sits down to the side. I worked for the city attorney. The city attorney sits down to the side. Both of them make presentations, and they can do it just fine from where they're sitting. But the most important thing is that the superintendent shouldn't be making policy. Yes, the school board should appoint a superintendent that they trust, but it should be a superintendent that they trust to carry out their policies, not to take over their responsibility to make policy.
I wasn't even aware that Tim Jennings was the one who caused that to happen. He was not one of my favorite people. Just saying that publicly, and I don't mind anybody repeating that, but he was not. I was a teacher in the system during his tenure as superintendent, and I can tell you that as a teacher, I was treated extremely unprofessionally during his tenure as superintendent. He considered teachers as the peons. So, you know, he had the school board in his pocket. That is not something that this superintendent does have. I can't defend where he sits because I didn't realize that was even an option. Honestly, I didn't realize it was an option. And I've been on the board for 4 years. But, you know, it was the way it was when I got on the board, and we haven't questioned it because we've had, especially with this superintendent, that we have now, current superintendent, we have an extremely great relationship with him, and we trust him.
Yes, the superintendent needs to move off the dais and put on to the side. Somebody said that he has to make presentations. Well, if you watch his presentations, the superintendent's sitting there reading off the paper, and the presentations are all on the big screen TVs wrapped all around the room. It's a very symbolic thing that he sits up there with the board. It shows that he is a very powerful person in the school system. I think one of the problems with that is most of the people on the school board, well, currently only one person on the school board, that's Leonard Tanko, is not a product of the education industry. And even when they're teachers, administrators are all taught, you do what the superintendent wants. And bringing that, even though it's in the back of their head, it's a training that they've been put through. And as a teacher, as an administrator, you do what the superintendent wants, he's in charge. And I think that's carried over to people on the school board, and we need to get some parents on the school board who doesn't believe the superintendent should be in charge. Thank you.
Did you steal my notes on that? I was just ready to say that. I was ready to say that. That cuts down my time a little bit. You're right, it's a mindset. They're trained to do what the superintendent wants. So what's the solution to that? One of my first objectives on the school board is to make a motion to put this superintendent down onto the left-hand side, on the farther left-hand side. If John Moss can sit next to Jim Spoor, I don't have a problem sitting next to Aaron Spence.
And we should end right now. Eric, you win.
That actually is the final question. So you're going to have a minute and 30 seconds as to wrap up. And I did want to share with everyone that those not in attendance that responded, Joe McDonald indicated he would be out of town. Dan Edwards responded that he's working in Williamsburg, sent his regrets. Ternace Briggs, who's running from Centerville, is in New England for a wedding, and I did not hear back from Christine Carroll. So,
She had operation this week.
She did,
Oh,
and that's
She had a major operation this week.
so she didn't need to be responding.
The last thing you have is 90 seconds, all the time in the world, to express once again why you are the candidate of choice.
Well, I just want to say this, and I'm going to try to make it 90 seconds. I am a parent, first of all. That's one of my, the pride of my life. I have 3 children who all came through Virginia Beach schools. My 2 sons were not particularly successful students. They struggled through school. And they have become my pride. They both are independent and excellent gentlemen, great contributors to their community. And I attribute that to their experience in public school, even though they weren't particularly successful students. They pulled what they needed from the school district to be productive adults, and that they are. I do have a passion for children and families. As a counselor, I saw children hurting, still having to come to school. I saw children being deprived, still having to come to school and do their best every day. So I want to be that person on the school board who is a voice for the children and the families and the parents who have to struggle, who have to, who are having a difficult time navigating the system. I want to be that voice, and I think that if I am the school board member that is chosen, I will be that voice for all children because they all have the capacity to learn. My name is Frances Knight Thompson, and I am running for the at-large seat.
I believe that we need informed leaders who are going to lead. I've been a proven leader, an informed proven leader on this grading topic, and I gathered the community together to inform our school board about what was going on and to fight against the removal of accountability in grading. I believe that in order to solve problems, you have to first admit there are problems and not keep your blinders on about those problems. I also believe that in order to solve problems, you have to reach out to the experts in the community. I'm not going to say that I know the answer to every problem, but I'm going to go searching for the answer to that problem. I'm going to speak to teachers, parents, community leaders, and to implement the right programs in our schools. I believe that if you're going to complain about it, you should do something about it. And that's what I did with this grading fiasco that we have in our schools right now. I pulled my kids out of school because I did not get any answers. But I didn't just run away from the problem. I decided that I was going to run for school board so that my kids can go back to public schools and that we can make our community a better place. I believe that our schools don't have a funding problem. I believe our schools have a spending problem, and we need to get that in control. I believe our schools are in decline. I composed some information, it's out on the table out there, from 2010 to 2015. All high schools have seen an increase in graduation rates, but 10 out of those same 11 high schools have seen a decrease in SAT scores.
The Taxpayer Alliance exists on this planet to fight for good government and fiscal responsibility. And more than anyone else up here, I have spent my life doing those very things. I spent 4 years in the Army from '84 to '88 doing military intelligence, fighting for our country. I got out and went to Old Dominion University, joined the College Republicans, worked on campaigns, graduated, went to work in the House of Delegates for Republican members, worked in the community, worked for 4 years for Senator John Warner on the Hill as a legislative assistant. I've been a blogger, I've worked on campaigns, I've managed campaigns. I've been the president of the Down Syndrome Association of Hampton Roads, working within the community. I'm the guy who's been in the trenches for 28 years, working on the very ideas that this organization stands for and fights for every day. I'm running because I want to restore excellence and accountability to our schools, because our schools are headed in the wrong direction. As Victoria said, we've got 11 high schools with graduation rates increasing, 10 of them SAT scores are going down. That's called grade inflation. That's happening because of the lack of leadership by the current school board and the policies of the current superintendent that are designed to make the schools look better than they really are and cover up a downward trend. We can do better, we must do better, we must aim higher. I'm Ken Falkenstein, I'm running at large. I appreciate your vote.
I want to say that I didn't get to finish in my opening remarks, and that I am a military wife as well. My husband retired military after 23 years in the Navy. I have 2 sons who are both currently serving in the Coast Guard, and so I know what it's like to be a military person as well as a non-military person. I know what it's like to have children leave and have to transfer into another community, and what it's like for kids who transfer into our community. I'm a former classroom teacher. I think I've done a really good job of bringing a classroom perspective to the school board. When I joined the school board 4 years ago, the first 2 years I was in the minority. Most of the time when we did votes, we had a board at that particular time who was considered a yes board. They never questioned anything from the superintendent that we had at that time. Since then, we've hired a new superintendent. We've actually gotten people on the board who ask questions, who do their homework. And so we've gotten better at making our superintendent accountable, because before they were never accountable, okay? So I ask for your support to keep me on the board. I'm a proven leader. I'm currently the vice chair of our school board, and I ask for your support to keep me on the board and keep me there, giving me the perspective of a teacher on the school board.
Hello, my name is Stephen Johnston. Like Ms. Anderson said earlier, 5 years ago, the school board was dominated by people who weren't from education. Today, the pendulum has swung the other way. It is now dominated by people who are from the education industry. There is only one person on there, and he doesn't have children in the school. I've raised 2 boys here at Virginia Beach. My youngest just recently graduated from Bayside High School. I know how the system works from a parent's point of view, and we need parents and citizens on the school board to bring a point of view from this side of the table, not just the teacher side. We've got a lot of great candidates running that aren't teachers, and I would like to see the school board balance out so we have teachers and non-teachers who are willing to work together to improve our school. I'd just like to say 5 years ago, when my son was looking at going into high school, Princess Anne High School was in the top 10 in the country. Last week, U.S. News and World Report came out with a listing of high schools. They're not even in the top 50 in Virginia. That's how far they've dropped. We need to get back on message, get our children back to quality of education that everyone deserves. My name is Stephen Johnson. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here today. I'm glad to see each and every one of you, and that in your testament that you care about our kids in school. Some of our candidates didn't even bother to show up, but I, in Centerville, I know that I do care about what's going on. I heard a lot about leadership. Everybody talks about being a leader. Nobody wants to be a servant. I'm a servant. If you elect me to school board, I work